If you've ever felt that wobble in the throat of your wallet when you're about to click buy on a high-end laptop, you're not alone. The last thing you want is to drop a couple of $1,000s on a machine that looks gorgeous on paper but turns out to be a disappointment when you fire it up for a real-world gaming session, a long-haul workday, or that weekend marathon of indie titles. I get that hesitation because I've sat at my desk, scrolling through endless spec sheets, trying to separate hype from what actually matters when you're playing, streaming, or juggling a dozen apps at once. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So, does the Microsoft Surface Laptop Studio 2 live up to the premium price tag, or is it just another shiny shell? Let's break it down the way you'd experience it, not by looking at technical jargon, but by walking through the moments that matter most to a gamer-oriented professional. First off, the biggest selling point is the 14.4-inch PixelSense Flow display. At 2400x1600 resolution, it's crisp enough that games like Cyberpunk 2077 render with a clean linework, and movies feel cinematic without the grain you sometimes see on cheaper panels. The real advantage shows up when you flip the device into its floating slider mode and use the touchscreen to sketch a quick concept, then swing it back for a full-screen shooter session. The fluidity of the touch layer is reliable. There's no lag when you drag a brush in Photoshop or pan across an open-world map. That kind of responsiveness is rare on a laptop that's also trying to be a gaming beast. Heat and noise are two of the biggest concerns with any gaming laptop, and the Surface Studio 2 is no exception. Under a sustained load, say, a 30-minute Valorant match followed by a quick edit in Premiere, the fans spin up noticeably. The noise is comparable to a small kitchen appliance, which can be distracting if you're trying to hear in-game chat or focus on a voiceover. The heat spread is decent, thanks to the Intel Evo platform's thermal design, but you'll feel the underside of the laptop warm after an hour of intense graphics work. It's not a deal-breaker if you normally game in a well-ventilated room, but if you're cramped in a shared office or a bedroom without a desk fan, the warmth might be something to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about the heart of the machine, the Intel Core i7 processor paired with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060, 8GB of dedicated VRAM. In practice, this combo handles most modern titles at high settings without dipping below 60 frames per second. I tested Elden Ring on high-medium settings and the frame rate stayed solid, with occasional spikes only when entering heavily populated areas. The RTX 4060 also shines when you enable DLSS or ray tracing. You get a noticeable visual boost without sacrificing too much performance. For non-gaming tasks, rendering a 4K video, compiling code, or running multiple VMs, the 64GB of LPDDR5X memory feels inexhaustible. You can have 5 Chrome tabs, a Photoshop window, a Discord call, and a game launcher all open without the system hiccuping. Battery life is where the Surface Studio 2 tries to defy the usual gaming laptop trade-off. Microsoft quotes up to 16 hours of runtime, and while that's ambitious, real-world usage came close to an 11-hour window when I alternated between streaming music, light browsing, and a single indie game on low settings. Once the RTX 4060 was cranked to higher settings, the battery slipped down to roughly 6 hours before the charger had to step in. Still, for a laptop that can also double as a mobile workstation, that endurance is impressive. If you're the type who frequently hops coffee shops or works from a co-working space, you'll appreciate the ability to run a full editing suite for several hours without being tethered to an outlet. Portability is another factor where opinions split. The 14.4-inch chassis is sleek and light, around 3.5 pounds, so you can comfortably slide it into a backpack. However, the slider mechanism adds a bit of bulk compared to a standard clamshell Ultrabook. The device is thick enough to feel solid, but you'll notice the extra width if you're used to a notebook that's only an inch deep. For gamers who travel for tournaments or need a secondary workstation on the road, it strikes a decent balance between being a laptop and a mini desktop. If you're looking for the thinnest possible machine to slip into a slim sleeve, a traditional gaming laptop or a dedicated handheld might suit you better. Storage is generous with a 2TB SSD. The read/write speeds are blisteringly fast, meaning games load in seconds and large video files transfer almost instantly. I moved a 30GB project folder from an external drive, and it copied in under a minute. That level of speed eliminates the frustration of waiting for textures to pop in during gameplay, a common annoyance on older SATA-based drives. If you're a content creator who also wants to keep a library of AAA titles locally, the capacity and speed combo feels just right. Now, who should?